Shalom, Israel. Brother Reggie Jr. here. So today, guys, I'm going to go ahead and do Genesis chapter 25. I'm just picking up where I left off from last time, y'all. And so let's go ahead and get right into it. Genesis chapter 25 in verse 1. And it says, Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. So now we know Abraham had 3 wives over his whole lifetime: Sarah, Hagar, and Keturah. Verse 2. And it says, And she bare him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. So we know besides Ishmael and Isaac, Abraham had 6 other sons, and that is a total now of 8 sons. So there are currently 8 nations on this earth that can claim Abraham as being their father. All right. But let's keep reading verse 3. And it says, And Jokshan begot Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, Letushim, and Lumim. And the sons of Midian. That's right. Them same old Midianites. Remember when Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and he went into the land of Midian? Well, the Midianites, they're the children of Abraham. And it says, Midian bore Ephah, and Epher, and Hanok, and Abida, and Elder. It says all these were the children of Keturah. So they weren't the sons of Sarah, but they were the sons of Keturah. Now let's go ahead real quick and let's go to Exodus chapter 2. And I'm going to read verses 14 and 15. And it says, And he said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Because remember, Moses, he seen 2 fellow Hebrews fighting, and he broke it up, and he was asking them, hey, why y'all hitting each other? But they, one of them responded saying, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killedest the Egyptian? And it says that Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known, because he knew Israel. Israel loved to talk, boy, they loved to gossip. So he said, Boy, surely this thing is known. And it was, verse 15. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. Even though Moses grew up in Pharaoh's house, grew up as an Egyptian, the moment Moses crossed the master, he came after him. Because you know what? Moses was still a slave. Even though he feigned himself as an Egyptian, guess what? He still had that slave. He still had that slave status on him. And that's all that Pharaoh seen him as. Just like today, you got them token Negroes at the top, think they special because they got all this money. People like Oprah and stuff. Well, guess what? The moment they cross the master gonna come after them just like Pharaoh came after Moses. But let's keep reading. It says, But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh. So he fled Egypt, because that's where Pharaoh was. And it says, and dwelt in the land of Midian. And remember, we just read how Midian was one of the sons of Abraham. So in this land, so basically Moses fled to his other kin, which were the Midianites. And it says, and he sat down by a well. That's all I want to read of that. But I just wanted to show that, those Midianites were Abraham's children. So Moses, he fled to his kindred. Now, let's go back to Genesis 25. And I'm going to read verses 5 and 6. And it says, And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. Because remember, Isaac was the heir. And an heir receives everything that his father possessed. Money, servants, cattle, you name it. He gets everything. But on top of this, Isaac also inherited the promises of God, because it wasn't just that physical stuff, but Isaac also inherited the promises of God, being that, hey, Abraham, I'm going to make a great nation out of you. Well, guess what? Isaac was going to inherit that. And he did. Verse 6, it says, But the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac his son while he yet lived, eastward into the east country. And the reason why Isaac was the heir, and that's because the Lord told Abraham that Isaac was going to be his heir. Not Eliezer of Damascus, but Isaac. That's what he said. He said he is going to be your heir, even though Isaac was not the firstborn. It was Ishmael was the firstborn, so technically he should have been the heir. But God said, no, Isaac is going to be the heir. You know why? Because the Lord only recognized Isaac as Abraham's only son. And we're going to read that. Let's go back a few chapters and let's go to Genesis chapter 22. And I'm going to read verse 2. And it says, and he said, take now thy son. This is the Lord talking to Abraham. Take now thy son, thine only son, Isaac. Wait a minute, but I thought Abraham at this time had I thought he had Ishmael as well. The Lord said, take now thy son, thine only son, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, because he was going to have Abraham pretty much offer him up as an offering. That's all I wanted to read out. But the Lord said, your only son, Isaac. But that wasn't Abraham's only son. But it let you know Isaac was the only one who God recognized out of all Abraham's sons. Yes, even out of the other 6 that would later be born to by way of Keturah. So, let's go back to Genesis chapter 25. And I'm going to read verses 7 through 11. And it says, and these are the days of the years of Abraham's life which he lived, 160 and 15 years. So Abraham lived a total of 175 years. And he, as far as we know, he was the last man to ever live as long as he did. As far as we know, 175 years. And today, I haven't seen anybody able to surpass that. That's a long time, 175, but not really compared to 900 years. But anyway, I digress. Let's keep reading verse 8. And it says, then Abraham gave up the ghost and died in a good old age. And a man, it says an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And so he died in a good old age, just like the Lord told him that he would. I would go to that. Well, do I want to go to it? Yeah, let's go ahead and go to it. Let's go to, I think that's Genesis 15 when he told Abraham that he would, die at a good old age. Yeah, Genesis 15 and 15. Because he showed Abraham like, hey, your people, they're going to go into captivity, but I'm going to bring them out, and they're going to dwell in this land that you're in, which is the land of Canaan. They're going to possess it. But right after that, he told Abraham, verse 15, he says, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Meaning he was going to die, but he was going to die in peace. It says, thou shalt be buried in a good old age. And that good old age for Abraham was 175 years old, which was a very long time. Verse 8, and it says, so back to Genesis 25, and I'm going to read verse 8, and it says, well, actually, when it says in verse 8, and full of years, this means Abraham's old age weren't evil years, meaning his back wasn't crippled, meaning it wasn't like he could barely see, walking slow. No, Abraham was full of life. He was something like a Moses. Remember how Moses was at his old age? Well, it's kind of how Abraham was. Well, let's keep reading verse 9. And it says, and his sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zoar the Hittite, which is before Mamre. Because remember, Abraham, while he was yet alive, he purchased that field as well as the cave in the field from Ephron the Hittite. And he did so in the sight of all of his people. Verse 10, and it says, the field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth. And you guys know that Heth himself was the father of the Hittite people. And it says, there was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. So Abraham was buried in that cave along with Sarah. And when he wake up, he's going to be raised up in that same spot. Verse 11, and it says, and it came to pass after the death of Abraham, and brothers and sisters, that death is coming for all of us. No matter how righteous, no matter how wicked, it says Solomon said, both the righteous and wicked, one event come to us all, and that is what? Death. And it says that God blessed Isaac, that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well Lahairoi. So, just like God was with Abraham and walked with Abraham, now God is with Isaac, and he's going to walk with Isaac, and he's going to guide Isaac. So now, let's go ahead and read verses 12 through 18. And the reason why I'm not doing a lot of precepting is because there's no need for a lot of precepting. A lot of this is just stuff you read right on through. So anyway, verses 12 through 18, and it says, now these are the generations of Ishmael. So now we're going to start dealing with Ishmael. It says, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. Now remember, the Lord made a promise to Abraham for his sake. He said, hey, Abraham, I'm going to bless your son Ishmael, and I'm going to make him a great nation. Simply because I'm not doing it for him, but I'm doing it for you. Simply because he is your son, Abraham, and I know you love him. So for your sake, I'm going to bless him. So now we're going to see that come to pass in these next couple of scriptures. It says, and these are the names of the generations of Ishmael. I'm in verse 13. By their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mibsam, and Mishma, and Duma, and Massa, Hadar, and Tema, Jetur, and Naphish, and Kadimah. It says, these are the sons of Ishmael. So, Ishmael ended up having 12 sons. And that is no coincidence. Why 12 sons? Because everything revolves around the 12 tribes of Israel. Yes, even time itself revolves around the 12 tribes of Israel. Why? Because all things were made for us. But let's keep reading verse 16. And it says, and these are their names by their towns and by their cities. 12 princes according to their nations. Verse 17. And it says, and these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. So he didn't live as long as his father Abraham. Abraham lived 175, but Ishmael only lived 37. And it says, and he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. 18. And they dwelt from Havilah unto Shur, that is before Egypt, as thou goest toward Assyria. And he died in the presence of all of his brethren. Why? Because he dwelt in the presence of all his brothers. So he also died in the presence of all his brethren. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at the generations of Isaac, because we seen that Ishmael, he had his 12 sons, but now we're going to see Isaac. We're going to see Isaac's sons. And so now we're going to enter into Jacob and Esau. So let's go ahead and get into it. And it says, these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's sons. And it says that Abraham begat Isaac. Now, verse 20, it says, and Isaac was 40 years. There's a fly in here. This fly been annoying the heck out of me. Okay, I'm sorry about that, y'all. Now, it says that, verse 20, it says, Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. So Isaac married his close of kin, which was Rebekah. Of course, we can't do that now, but it's interesting because at the top of 20, it said he was 40 years old. Now, let me just go real quick to Genesis 24. So back a chapter. I'm going to read verse 67, and it says, because this was around the time where Sarah died. This is when he got Rebekah. It says, and Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent to Mount Rebekah, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So, and at that time right there, remember when Eliezer of Damascus got Isaac his wife Rebekah? Okay, well, when Isaac took Rebekah and she became his wife. Now, we need to understand now, Bible just told you he was 40 years old. And the reason why this has to be said, because for some reason in our mind, we think that Isaac was like 18 or like he was 20 or something like that, really young. No, Isaac was 40 years old. And I know that is strange to a lot of us, but we have to understand that back in the ancient times, family really stuck together. Like sons and daughters, they really stayed in their parents' house, man, till they were in their 30s, 40s, because that's how it was. Now, when they got married, whether it was the man or the woman, they obviously got out of their parents' house. But no, man, in them ancient times, the whole family aspect was crucial. And see, black people like to laugh at Mexicans, how they be doing. Yeah, look at they got all them Mexicans staying in one house. But actually, that's how they did it in the ancient times. But see, we think that that's odd today, because now today we have children, kick them out when they 18. Yeah, they 20, 18. There are parents over here in this Western world kicking their kids out at 16. And we think that that is normal. But this whole Western culture that we have, brothers and sisters, is all wrong. And so the Lord, when he comes back, he's going to have to filter all of that stuff out of us, because the way that we living right now, man, under this Western society, it ain't the same. It ain't how it used to be. It's not as it is in the Bible, because not even the Eastern world, they've kind of become more Western, but I would say the Eastern way of doing things is more closer to how things were done in the Bible. But this Western crap, no, sir, nowhere even close. And I believe that that's why sometimes we have a very difficult time of understanding the Bible, because we're kind of looking at things through a Western ideology. So when we see things like men being able to have multiple wives and things like that, we see it as something strange. Dealing with land ownership, agriculture, we think that those things are strange. But that's because we live in this Western culture, and in this Western culture, we deal with capitalism, and polygamy is banned, all of those things. So we find it strange when we see these things in the Bible. But nevertheless, guys, I need to go ahead and get right back into this thing. Oh, and what I was saying, how, usually back in them times, men and women, they would be in their 30s, sometimes 40s, staying, with their family still. See, they did that until they got married and stuff. And a lot of that was because of what Adam said. Hey, let me just go there real quick. Genesis 2:24. And it says, therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And see, that's usually when the man and woman used to leave the house back in the ancient days, is when they got married. And of course, they got married young, a lot of them. But those who didn't, hey, they stayed with family. That's just how things worked, in contrast to this Western world, this Western ideology, which believes at 16 and 18 years old, the children need to be kicked out of the house. But that's not how things worked. So anyway, like Jesus, I don't think he left the house until he was in his 30s. And that's because his ministry was starting. Because he had a wife. And what was his wife? The children of Israel. He had a job to do, and that's why he took off. It was time. Yep. Did his ministry for 3 years, and then he was cut off, died. But nevertheless, y'all, let's go ahead and get right into it. Back to Genesis 25, and where was I? Okay, I need to go to 21 because I wasn't done. All right, let's see. 21, and it says, and Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And this is something that we always seen with our foremothers. They were always barren. And the reason why the Lord had that happen is because when we were dealing with a promise, and the promise came by way of children. And so the Lord he didn't want to leave no doubts. He wanted us to know that this thing was of God. Why? Because our foremothers were barren. So when the child of promise came, it was of God, because the woman couldn't even have children. But I digress. It says she was barren, so Isaac prayed to the Most High, and it says, and the Lord was entreated of him. Now Rebekah was able to bear. And it says, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. So she ended up being pregnant. Now watch this, 22. It says, and the children struggled together within her. But she didn't know that. All she knew was, oh Lord, something is happening in my womb. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And so she felt something going on in her womb. Obviously something that wasn't natural. It was a little beyond just a few movements. Because the babies kick and they move and stuff like that. But whatever was going on with Rebekah, she said, this is not normal. So she like, if I'm pregnant, and if I really am having a child, then why is this happening to me? But see, back in them times, they didn't have no, what is it called, an ultrasound or something like that? Y'all ladies know what I'm talking about, a sonogram. I don't know which one it is. Maybe it's both. Y'all can correct me on that. Well, maybe it is both ultrasound and sonogram. But she didn't know she was having 2 children. All she knew was she was pregnant. It wasn't like it is today. You run to a doctor, let me see. Oh, you're having twins. Nah, it wasn't none of that. She had no idea what was going on. So Rebekah probably assumed that she was going to have a miscarriage, because she felt something wasn't right. But she did the smart thing. She went to the Lord, not the doctor or physician, none of that. She went to the Lord. And guess what? Verse 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. So off the jump, the Lord just had to tell her, first of all, Rebekah, you ain't pregnant with 1 son. You pregnant with 2. 2 nations are in your womb. So Rebekah has now found out that she is having twins. Excuse me, y'all. And it says, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So not only are you going to have 2 sons, Rebekah, but you're going to have 2 different kind of sons. They are going to differ in every way. In religion, they're going religion, custom, culture, down to the way they dress, down to what they like. These 2 boys and their nation are going to be totally different from each other. I mean, they're going to be real different. You ain't even going to know they brothers. How different they going to be. Right? Even down to the way they looked, they were going to be different. So the Lord is already letting her know that before they even come out. Because at this time, we don't know how far into the pregnancy Rebekah was. We just don't know. But the Lord was telling her ahead of time what was going to be. Now, let's finish up verse 23 in the middle. And it says, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people. And that was Esau. Esau was stronger than Jacob. But look at this, though. It says, and the elder shall serve the younger. And we know that this happened. This happened during the time of David. It says, and the elder shall serve the younger. And see, in David's reign, that's when he conquered the Edomites. Okay, and they had to serve him in the 12 tribes of Israel. And that is what that is referring to. But there would be a time where Esau would come from up under Jacob. But let's go see where it was where Esau became servants to Jacob. So let's go to 2 Samuel real quick. I'm not going to read a lot, but I want to read at least 4 verses. So 2 Samuel chapter 8, and I'm going to read verses 11 through 14. And it says, which also King David, because this is when King David was just going out conquering and kicking ass. All right, 11. It says, which also King David did dedicate unto the Lord with silver and gold that he had dedicated of all nations which he subdued. Verse 12. Of Syria. So he conquered Syria. And what? And of Moab. And what? Of the children of Ammon. And of what? The Philistines. And of Amalek. And it says, and of the spoil of Hadazer, son. And we know Amalek is of Edom. And it says, son of Rahab, king of Zobah. Verse 13, and it says, and David got him a name when he returned from the smiting of the Syrians in the valley of Salt, being 18,000 men. So Abraham's name was just going all throughout the lands because he was conquering everybody. In verse 14, here we go. And he put garrisons in Edom. So David, not only did David conquer the Edomites, but he put troops. He stationed troops in Edom, made sure they was right there in that land. And it says he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom put he garrisons. And all they of Edom became what? David's servants. And the Lord preserved David wherever he went. So that fulfilled that Genesis 25 and 23. But of course, we know this is going to repeat itself because remember, Esau got from under Jacob. We don't know where he went, but we do know where he went. We can pinpoint him actually today. But nevertheless, hey, Esau had to serve Israel, and that's going to happen again. No matter that they got loose again, they're going to come right back under and they're going to have to serve Jacob again. But let's continue. Well, let's deal with that because we know that Esau is going to get loose from up under Jacob, and Esau is going to run absolutely wild on this earth. And see, Esau, unlike any of the other nations, the Hebrew Edomites cannot, I repeat, they cannot be allowed to run free at all. These people are dangerous. Esau must serve. They must be subdued because they are wicked as hell. All right. Let's go to Obadiah real quick. Turn to Obadiah real quick because I'm going to show you proof that Esau got loose. And they're running wild on this earth today. Running absolutely nuts on this earth. But they're going to be subdued again. But as of right now, Esau is running absolutely crazy. They're going nuts. Okay? And they're very violent. They're known as they're very violent toward Jacob. And remember, Jacob is in all nations. But these Edomites, they rule in this earth, and they are just the violence that man, they spilling Israelite blood everywhere. They're in labs making biological weapons. These virology labs, releasing them into African population. Esau can't be allowed to run wild, y'all. I'm just telling you that. And the Lord know it too. That's why he say what he gonna say. Obadiah 1, and I'm going to read verses 17 through 21. And now, this is future. This what we about to read right here is future. And if it's not future, you are a damn liar, okay? L-I-A-R. You know why? Because this is going to happen at the Lord's return. Or in this, what I'm reading is happening right before the Lord's return, okay? 17. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Let's go real quick to Isaiah 14. What that mean when it say the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions? Because you got a lot of teachers that got their interpretation on what this mean, but you ain't got to interpret it. All you got to do is let the Bible speak. Isaiah 14 verses 1 and 2. Let's see what that means in Obadiah. Jacob shall possess their possessions. So let's see. Isaiah 14 verses 1 and 2. And it says, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and he sure will. Right now we getting our asses kicked in captivity, but he gonna have mercy on us again, and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. Woo! Yeah, God gonna yet choose Israel. He gonna come back and gather all Israel. We in the wilderness right now. And God is going to purge each and every last one of these wicked behind Israelites. And when he come back, he's going to what? Gather that remnant, the righteous among Israel who's alive and remaining. He's going to gather them and bring them into the land. That's what he's going to do. But them wicked ones, they going to drop right here in the wilderness. So yes, brothers and sisters, you need to live right now before you either die or before the Most High returns. So it says he going to yet choose Israel. He going to yet choose the remnant and set them in what? Their own land. So we going back to that land. There's some other people in our land right now. But guess what? When the Lord come back, they ain't going to be there. God going to destroy them out the land, and he going to put us back in there. And it says, and strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Yes, sir, the stranger, they're going to cleave to Jacob. Well, don't get overexcited, because the Lord going to let you know what that cleave means in the next verse. You don't have to interpret this. The next verse tell you what it means by the strangers cleaving, what it mean. And also, Lord, tell us what it mean as well by Jacob going to possess their possessions. 2. And the people shall take them, because they already in the land at this time. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. What people? The ones that cleave to Jacob. In what? And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. So them ones that's cleaving to Israel are going to basically be Israel's slaves. See, a lot of y'all try to, they going to just kind of, no. He's telling you, they're going to be Jacob's slaves. And how do we know? Keep going. Let's keep reading. And they shall take them, the ones that cleave to us, they shall take them captives. Yeah, we kind of just, taking them, and they going to just kind of, It said captives, meaning we're taking them. We're going to take them captives whose captives they were. Like right now, how we're in captivity, we're what? Captives. Now, you got Israelites that don't believe that we're captives. They believe that was 2022, things change. Not the Lord. The Lord say you are a captive, sir and ma'am. You are a captive. But the Lord said the time will come when that's going to switch. When these heathen that we among, we're going to take them as captives. We're basically taking them in slavery. Guess what? Whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So guess what? We're going to rule over our oppressors. So all these people in whose nation we're in, the same people who tell you what to do on your job. Same people that tell you you got to go get them that license and registration renewed. Same people we pay taxes to. Same people who we got to go get our food and our clothing. And if we want a house, same people we got to go to get that house. Yeah, he talking about them people. We going to take them captive. And we going to rule over our oppressors. And so in Obadiah, when it says Jacob shall possess their possessions, he talking about the heathen. We're going to possess the heathen. Let's go real quick to Amos 9. Because Amos 9 is also a part of that, which is right before Obadiah. Amos 9, and I'm going to read verses 11 through 15. And it says, now, this is future. This is talking about when the Lord come back now and he restore us as the 12 tribes of Israel. No longer 2 houses, but 1. It says, in that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom. Hold on now. Tabernacle of David. Well, he must be to my, no, he's to my, the actual children of Israel. That's who he's going to raise up, because we toe down right now. But it says, hey, guess what? Verse 12. They shall possess the remnant of what? The heathen. No, the remnant of Edom, and then what? And of all the heathen. Because you know why? Edom is the head of the snake. Listen, I don't know about all of these little history books or nothing like that, but all I know is Edom is running wild all over this earth right now. And he is the head of the snake. He's the head of the snake. But the Lord says that we're going to possess the remnant of Edom, because God going to kill a whole bunch of Edomites. When he get back, the slain of the Lord shall be many. He going to cut off the head of the snake, then he going to cut off the heathen. It says, which are called by my name. It's not saying that Edom and the heathen are called by his name. That's not what it's saying. But it's telling you those who are going to possess Edom and the heathen are those that are called by his name, saith the Lord that doeth this. That's all I want to read it. I ain't going to read the verse 15. I just wanted to get verses 11 and 12 out of that. But that's what we're going to possess. The children of Israel, we're going to possess Edom, the head of the snake, and then we're going to possess the body of the snake, which is the heathen. Because Esau, or Edom, right now as we speak, as I'm looking at you, they are running wild on this earth, and they are leading the charge in the nations, destroying and spilling Israelite blood. But nevertheless, let's go back to Obadiah, and I have to keep reading to verse 21. And it says, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph for a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. So the Lord really got it out, man, for Esau. He really do. Why? Because he's the head of the snake. And right now as we speak, the Lord, right now as we speak, Esau is running wild all over this earth, leading the charge on massacring the Israelites all over this world. And it says, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. Why? Because Esau is running wild right now, destroying Hebrews left and right. And not just by means physically, but through other things of warfare. Biological weapons, discrimination, drugs, all of that stuff. It's all Esau's doing, man. And the Lord got it out for him. And I'm sorry, y'all, when I talk a lot, I get a lot of mucus in my nose, man. I hate that. It's annoying. But anyway, it says, for the Lord hath spoken it. Verse 19. And it says, and remember, Esau, the Lord says, Esau is the man, is the nation who the Lord has indignation against forever. These are the worst people on the earth. 19. And it says, and they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain of the Philistines. And you should know, even though he's saying all of this stuff right there, he's talking about the children of Israel. And it says, but look at that. It says, they shall possess the mount what? Of Esau. Talking about the people of Esau. The kingdom of Esau. And they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. 20. Now watch this now. And the captivity of the host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath. In the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharad, shall possess the cities of the south. Now, here we go. Where I wanted to get to, verse 21. Now watch this now. Let's see who the kingdom is currently being ruled by. Let's see who first of all, the strongest people of the kingdom are, and who's currently running the kingdom, tearing the 12 tribes of Israel scattered all around this planet. Let's see who's ripping us apart. Okay, 21. It says, and saviors shall come up upon Mount Zion to judge the mount, meaning the kingdom of Esau. And the kingdom which belongs to Esau at this very moment, shall be the Lord's. Now, that didn't happen yet. The Lord didn't come back yet. So who's running this kingdom right now? Now, you could pretend to be an idiot. That's your problem. I don't care. That's your prerogative. But me, I'm just going to read the Bible and I'm going to look. We know who this is, brothers and sisters. Now, a lot of people like to go on all these other different books and history books and stuff. But hey, we know who this is. It said, saviors shall come up on Mount Zion. Okay? And we are part of those saviors because we're coming back with the Lord. It says they coming to judge the mount, or the kingdom of Esau. In the kingdom, which what? Currently belongs to Esau. Right now, as we speak. It says the kingdom shall be, which lets us know it's going to be taken from someone. And that someone is Esau. The kingdom shall be the Lord's. So the Lord will take it from the children of Esau. Snatch it right from them. But 2 + 2 = 4, which means I'm going back to Genesis 25 because I really need to finish this up. It's 43 minutes. We 43 minutes in, man. I ain't trying to be here for longer than 1 hour and 30. So let's go ahead, man, and let's get through this thing. So I think I was on verse 23. So now I'm going to read verses 24 through 28. And it says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. So long after the Lord told Rebekah all of that stuff about her 2 boys, the time came where it was time for her to actually have the children. Now, we're going to get a description of Esau in verse 25. And it says, and the first, meaning Esau, the elder, it says, came out red all over like a hairy garment. And when it talks about red, it's not necessarily referring to the complexion of his skin, but it's more talking about his hair. And you will find out that that's why his name is called Esau, because he was a very hairy man. It says, and they called his name Esau. And one thing you need to know about the black nations, whether it's Hamites or the Shemites, all of these dark and black nations, we're not a hairy people at all, okay? But that's why Esau's name was called Esau, because it was referring to the fact that he was a very hairy person. Verse 26, and it says, and after that came his brother out, to my Jacob, the younger. And now we know who going to serve who. Esau going to serve Jacob, the younger. And his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 old when she bare them, right? So Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. Verse 27, and it says this. It says, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter. And it's more to this, brothers and sisters. This is talking about the nature of the boys. Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And by cunning, it's telling you that Esau was a very deceitful man, okay? Esau used deception, okay? That's the kind of person he was. And just think about it. He was a hunter too. And we learned later that he hunted venison, which is deer. He hunted game. And you see that hunters, what do they have to do to catch game anyway? They have to use what? Deceit. But not so with Jacob. It says Jacob was a plain man. Now, when it says plain man, it's not saying that Jacob was plain, meaning, oh yeah, boy, Jacob wore a plain Hanes t-shirt with khaki pants. That ain't what it means by plain. It's saying that Jacob was a righteous man. He was an upright man. He was a man of morality in contrast to his brother. That's what it's trying to tell you. But let me keep reading, guys. Verse 28. It says, now Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison. And boy, we just like our father Isaac, because we love eating. We love some meat. And we love anybody who feed us meat. It says because he did eat of his venison. But it says, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Right? Now let me keep reading. I'm going to read through 34. And it says, and Jacob sawed pottage. Now, what I'm about to read here in these next couple of verses, brothers and sisters, is very important because this is in contrast to us as Israelites today. It says, Jacob sawed pottage. Okay, he was cooking pottage. And it says, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to his brother Jacob, feed me. It says, see, I tried to be all cool and messed it all up. It says, Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same what? Red pottage. So these red beans. He says, for I'm faint. So Esau was famished. He was hungry because he was out there hunting game. And so he didn't really eat. Because you know how it is. You know them hunters, man. Let's be real. Them hunters be out there. What do? Now, they smart enough to actually carry food with them. But they'll sit out there in the woods all day with a sniper. You know that big old sniper rifle they have. And they just sit there. 6 hours straight. The hunters don't even move. And they just sit there. 6 hours, man. They see the deer and they will sit 6 hours waiting to get a good shot. And then right there, boom! Right when they feel they got a good shot. And they don't have to literally be 6 hours. It could be 3 hours. It could be 4 hours. But them hunters will sit there all day. Won't move a muscle. They don't eat nothing. Piss, nothing. They just... And so guess what? Naturally, after all of that, guess what? Esau was famished because he was hunting all day. And hunting is very strategic. And Esau today is still a hunter. And you know who he hunts? He hunts the children of Israel. So Esau never gave this up because Esau still hunts Israel. So that never changed. We're now Esau's game. We're now Esau's venison. But let's keep going, guys. I'm getting off topic. Verse 30. He says, feed me with that same red pottage, for I'm faint. Therefore, his name was called Edom. So Esau means hairy, but Edom means red pottage. 31. Now look at Jacob here. Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. So Jacob said this because he must have been very well aware of what this birthright entailed. Okay, so that means he must have knew about the promises. He must have been told about the promises of God to Abraham. He must have been told the promises of God by Isaac, which was bestowed on Abraham, and how that promise would go down. So that's why in 31, Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright, brother. 32. And Esau said, behold, I'm at the point to die. Man, I'm about to die. I'm so hungry. He says, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? Now, that shows you how much Esau cared about his birthright, which means Esau probably knew about the promises of as well that was told to Abraham, and that would be passed down. But obviously Esau really didn't care. 33, and it says, and Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swore to him. So, okay, Esau gave his birthright over for some red beans, showing you how much he really cared about his birthright. So did Jacob steal his birthright, or did Esau sign his birthright away via his words? Well, he signed his birthright away via his words. And he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Sold or stole? He sold it away. 34. It says, then Jacob gave Esau bread and a pottage of lentils, a pottage of red beans, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. And thus Esau despised his birthright. That was a very evil thing that Esau did with his birthright. His birthright was worth red beans, a pot of beans. I mean, that's crazy. But you know what? At the same time, a lot of us give Esau crap. A lot of us pick on Esau. But the truth is, a lot of us selling our birthright away. Yeah, that's right. A lot of us or y'all are selling your birthrights away. For what? Money. A big church. Selling it so you can love and shack up and coon up with the heathen. Some of y'all selling your birthright to sell out so you can get the things that you want. So a lot of y'all, hey, you selling your birthright too. Not keeping the commandments, you selling your birthright. Those are all forms of selling your birthright. Even the Hebrews out here, man, you tell them, hey, you know what I'm saying? You need to keep God's laws, man. You need to start living right. I ain't trying to hit it. I'm trying to get this money. What God gonna do for me? I'm trying to get this money. I'm trying to live this life. So guess what? Hey, by doing all of that, they're selling their birthright. Because they're saying, hey, we're going to forfeit kingship. We're going to forfeit ruling over Esau and these wicked ass heathen that's over us for what? So I can sell some dope. So I can get this money. So I can get that rap contract. Hey, that kingship stuff and being kings and gods on this earth, ruling over the people that hate us, man, that ain't worth my time. I'm trying to get this contract. Hey, so we doing the same thing as Esau, so we ain't no better, brothers and sisters. So that's pretty much it for this, guys. I will see you in Genesis chapter 26, and I hope you guys got some understanding. And with that, shalom.